You're tuned in to the Reality Fred podcast. Food and travel, cool stuff, weird stuff, entertainment, and more. You made the choice to be here, and my friend, you've chosen wisely. Now buckle up, because it's time to get started. It's time for the Reality Fred podcast.
If you're into cigars and looking for a one-stop resource for reviews, news, tips, and more, then be sure to check out cigaradvisor.com. Cigar Advisor is an online magazine that promotes cigars and the cigar lifestyle on behalf of famous-smoke.com. Currently, the panel of advisors consists of Tommy Z-Man, John Pulo, Gary Korb, and today's guest, Fred Lunt. Today we'll be doing a Fred to Fred interview as Cigar Advisor Fred Lunt joins us to discuss what it's like being a cigar advisor and, of course, cigars. So find your safe space and enjoy this episode about Fred Lunt, the Cigar Advisor.
When you're by yourself or when the world slows down, Reality Fred. When life decides to give you the run around, Reality Fred. Or when your glass is full and your cigar is just right, fire up the podcast that keeps you up all night. Reality Fred, I'll say it again. Reality Fred, always there like a friend. You know it's time, so just press play. Reality Fred, come and take me away.
And welcome back, Reality Fred podcast followers, and I am here with a buddy of mine, Fred Lunt of Cigar Advisor. Fred, thank you for joining me.
Hey, thank you for having me on, Fred.
This is my first Fred to Fred interview.
Talking Freds.
So, Fred, I'm excited to do this. I love all things cigars, and of course, I love Cigar Advisor and what you guys do. And we're going to talk just exactly about that, what it is that you guys do. But for those unfamiliar with Cigar Advisor, that's where I'd like to start before I get into the questions about you and everything like that. Why don't you just bring us up to speed, or some of the listeners up to speed, of what Cigar Advisor is and what Cigar Advisor does?
Yeah, so we are a online magazine dedicated solely to cigars. Exactly that. We're one of the premier leading magazines. So the editorial staff consisting of myself, John Pulo, Gary Korb, and Tommy Z-Man Zarzecki. We talk about everything with cigars. I mean, the lifestyle, cigar makers. We do interviews. We have a podcast. We do Cigars 101, which is for like newer cigar smokers, and we also do reviews. We have a review panel, and we do buying guides for if you're interested in like a whole line of something like Camacho or Cohiba or Padron or all that kind of stuff. We throw in different things with Cigar Rights of America, cigar legislation, and it's a whole lot of things, and it's just a lot. But
and you guys also do it in what's nice is you guys do it in a fun way. Everything you guys do, I mean, there's a lot of serious content, but yet you guys have a good time. With the Facebook Live videos, the podcast that Gary's doing, and things like that. So, as someone that's interested in cigars, it's also fun on our end.
Oh yeah,
be a part of what you guys do.
Oh yeah, well, no, work's got to be fun. We can't go. Oh God, I got to smoke cigars today. It's like, yeah, I got these Padrones. Just not gonna smoke themselves. It's like, ugh. No, we try to keep it light and fun, and we also try to keep it educational too. So the two E's, well, exactly, entertainment, education.
Yeah, it does sound like a cool job. So let's start with that. How did you come to be a cigar advisor? Tell us that story, how that unraveled, where you got this gig. You're the new guy on the squad, but how did you get this gig?
So it really goes back to when I was a kid, and I would see my grandfather smoking. He was a character. He was a World War II veteran and just an awesome guy. And I was always fascinated with cigars. So around legal age, I was about 18. I drove down to a little smoke lounge, like 5 minutes from my house, and it turned out to be the retail end of Famous Smoke Shop, which is actually like the largest American-owned retailer of the country. So, of course, over the years, I built some friendships with people there, and last winter I left my job at a PR agency in Manhattan, and the position opened up, and it was just timed out really perfectly that I was able to get on board. And I've been a smoker for years, so my expertise was somewhat there, but I gotta say I've learned like so much more since I've joined with these guys. It's just every day I'm learning something new about cigars and the makers. Just today, like Steve Saka popped in, like, oh hey Steve. It's like, you just learn so much around these people.
That's awesome. I didn't realize you guys got to meet Steve today. Or you've met him before. He visited before, right?
Yeah, he was on our live show before actually, and we had a retail in our retail store. We had an event with him today, so he had out for his new one of his new cigars, the Todos Los Dias.
I have not had that one yet. It's one I'd like to try. It's the one with the interesting story about its name. I'm sure you've at least read about the story, or maybe he brought it up today, where it was just something where he's always been saying it wrong.
Yeah, it's always pronounced something about all the day. Translation, it's supposed to be very spicy and peppery.
Very cool. You haven't had it yet, or have you had it?
Not yet. I've heard him talk a lot about it, though.
Now, before I move on to my next question, I did just want to verify what you said there. So you said when you were 18, you drove down to the local retail shop, which was Famous Smoke. So Did you actually grow up in the area around where you're working now then? Is that what you're saying?
Yep, I did actually.
Oh, okay. So all right. So you grew up in that area, then you were at Manhattan, and you were able to come back home to a pretty cool job then.
Yeah, pretty much. It's quite a journey. I was
awesome.
Kind of in and around a couple of cities and states for a while, and found my way back home. Settled down with my family.
That's awesome. Now that we know how you got involved into the cigar advisor job, what I want to do is describe an average day of being a cigar advisor. So you told us a little bit about the magazine itself and what goes on there. But besides the articles and things like that, tell us what some of the things that you do during the day or over the course of a week as a cigar advisor.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of stuff when it comes to our online and our social media and our content marketing and everything. It depends on where we are with editorial. But, usually I'll have my bagel and my coffee, and then I get my second cup of coffee set up with my cigar, something like a Connecticut or whatever. And then throughout the day, we usually are either reviewing for Cigar Advisor, which is our, magazine, like I said. And so we do two different review sets. We either do our panels or we do our buying guides. And then I also write articles for it. I have a few different topics that I'll write on. It's usually kind of varied. The last one was on barber pole cigars, and I'll interview some people with that. Then I also have a recurring piece about top new cigars, which is just like the latest stuff we have coming in. And I try to match it up to how you can do it to the weekends. And we do with some other things too with Famous Smoke Shop with our content. So basically, pretty much every cigar that you read up on Famous's website is the product description is written by us. So we are researching cigars like crazy, just like every new thing coming in, we're researching. And then we also write the copy for all the text, I should say, from the email sales. So when you get an email from Famous Smoke Shop that says, "Oh, this new cigar is on sale," well, we wrote that.
Very cool, very cool. Well, it definitely keeps you guys busy, and it's not just you, as we mentioned. There's 3 other individuals that you work with. So I real quick want to go through what it's like work with each of them. But of course, where am I going to start? I got to start with Tommy Z, man. What is it like working with Tommy Z? And maybe some of you out there follow him online and see he's quite the character.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, he goes live from home. Those are interesting and enjoyable little insights into the life of Tommy Z Man and him. But what's it like working with him?
The life of Tommy Z Man. That's an interesting one. And he is a character though. You're right. He's not always like that. What he is on the thing. He's a wacky guy, but he can be very serious and very intellectual, really down to earth when it comes to his cigars. He knows what he's talking about. He really loves cigars and the whole culture with our industry. But he likes to joke around a lot. He has fun in the office. So he's a great guy. It's definitely noticed if he's not in the office for the day. It's just so quiet. Where's
No,
the
I can imagine.
jokes?
I can imagine the difference between a day with Tommy Z-Man at work and a day when he's not there. I'm sure they're two different days. But now, how about John Pula? What's it like working with John Pula?
Yeah, so John is our silent, fearless leader. He is just a salt of the earth kind of guy. He's very down to earth, very intelligent, and I really learn a lot from him, especially the way we are, writing and driving everything, the way we're taking the magazine. He's kind of the driving force behind where we take the magazine and, listening to our ideas, because we're always spouting out ideas and you never know. Nah, that's stupid. Don't follow that. Okay, that's a good idea. Follow up with that, but actually do it. He's a great guy.
And last but not least, Mr. Gary Korb. When I watch the weekly live videos that you guys do, and we'll get to that shortly, you guys do give Gary quite a lot of credit. All four of you, I believe, a lot about cigars, but you guys definitely seem to give him an extra level of praise when it comes to knowing everything there is about cigars. Is that pretty accurate? And what's it like working with Gary?
Oh yeah, well Gary's been with famous. He actually started Cigar Advisor. He was the original writer of Cigar Advisor, and he's been doing this essentially for about 15 or 16 years now. So he knows a lot. He knows every cigar maker, owner, manufacturer, all the reps. He just knows everybody. They all send him stuff. They talk to each other. He'll go on vacation to Florida and he'll hang out with Rafael Nadal. Like, it's no big deal. Like, he knows everybody. But he and I are buddies. We've got a lot of similar things in common. I mean, he loves books. He loves film and everything. So we chat about that. And he's a fun guy. He's a funny guy.
Now, you mentioned this a little bit, and I'm glad you didn't give specifics because otherwise, I don't know where they would kind of wipe away this question here. But you did allude to it earlier when I was talking about the job. But now I want to get some specifics out of you because it's such an interesting job, because you go to work every day dealing with cigars, the news, where stuff come from, what's going on, the blend of different cigars that are coming out and things like that. So just in general, what are some things that come to mind when I ask, what have you learned about the world of cigars doing this job that you don't think you would have been aware of prior to having this job?
There's so much. I mean, I went from like a fairly average knowledge to just within a few months, I know, like, I've just learned so much. I'm just absorbing everything. And I would say probably just the vast amount of work that goes into making, one box of cigars to bring to somebody. I mean, they say 200 hands will touch a cigar before it goes to your mouth. And there's so much behind it, just in figuring out the blend, when to plant the seed, then you plant the seed and the soil that goes into the seed, what they do in the off season. It goes down into the weather, how they take care of the plant, harvesting, curing, just the whole process. I mean, I had no idea. And Gary and I actually this summer went to Connecticut to see how they plant it, process it, they cure it, and then they ship Connecticut tobacco down to Central America to get the rest of the fermentation and everything. And just that half alone, we didn't even learn half of what these guys do, every season. So that, and then the true sense of camaraderie and family in the cigar business. I mean, if you look at it, there's families that have been in this industry for over 100 years, and it's just incredible. And even younger companies that I see, where it's like Alec Bradley and with Alan Rubin, his sons are in their 20s and they're already getting into the industry. They're carrying on that name, and there's just it's just a true sense of camaraderie and brothership going on. And I never knew that was there until I stepped into the world, and it was just like, wow, even these guys compete against each other. They really love each other.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I never really thought about it that way. I mean, it's an obvious thing when you stop and think about it, and I do remember when you had Alan. What is it? Alan Rubin? Is that his name?
Yes.
Yeah, him and his one son were on your live show, and but really, wow, when you think about it, it really is an entire industry of family businesses.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you have the, I guess you have the big companies at the top that kind of do this. I guess I don't know how exactly the connection, if they do the sales for a lot of the cigars now. When you think of like Altadis, handling, I guess, the distribution maybe.
Yeah, they do more
But in terms of the
distribution.
actual companies,